Yeah. Hello. We welcomed these four contestants to the Thunderdome of Bowlin Stadium on a Rondo Revelle field. Now, some of you visiting people may ask, hey, isn't Rondo Revelle your current coach? Yeah, just been there for quite some time. Anyway, hello. We have finally hosted our regional for the first time in some time. Even better, we did it as a one seed. Now, not the one seed that you're thinking of, not the number one overall. A one seed because they did some fuck shit seeding. But no, we got the four overall, despite the fact that we won the Big Ten regular season, losing only one game. The Big Ten tournament by a good amount. We won that. And the team that was ranked ahead of us in most consensus polls lost in the quarterfinal, their first SEC tournament game. So how did it come out? The SEC tournament runner-ups won. The SEC tournament winners 2. The team that was originally number 1, 3. And then Nebraska slots in at 4. Bruh. This did not do well or kindly to who we would be playing next round. But we had to, of course, get through these guys. So our contestants in the Thunderdome are obviously Nebraska. Heavy home favorites here. Just like whenever they decide to host South Dakota State or Omaha, first home weekend or whatever. Then we have the other seeded team in the room, Louisville. Now, Louisville in the ACC, so not the best 8 seed that we could be going up against, but certainly a team that is worth of something, I guess. Grand Canyon University, the school that is always in those advertisements for some reason, on TV everywhere. No matter where you live, you've seen them at least once. And then there's South Dakota, who dethroned the Kings of the Summit League, Omaha, in the Summit Tournament, and also the regular season too, which is interesting. So yeah, it's not like they're overly good or anything because they finished the regular season with a 20-34-1, and yes, that does include the games they won in the tournament, which they had to win multiple of. Yikes! But of course, we got to start out with the 2v3 so that the 1v4 is in the primetime spotlight of ESPN Plus. This game at least had ESPNU or something. I don't know. And obviously, that means that Louisville is going to get pantsed 5-1 against a team that has won 52 fucking games. That is a lot, you may say. That is more games, that's the same amount of games as Nebraska scheduled. Yes. GCU also had to make the tournament with a 9-run comeback in the Mountain West Championship. Yeah, definitely heard that no less than 5 times over the course of the broadcasts. Louisville just shot themselves in this, but they'll pick themselves up later, I guess. But then there's the match that most attendees were in, waiting for, because if you bought a ticket, you had to buy it for all 3 days, and OU cannot resell it, by the way. For reasons, or else you will not be able to buy the next one. How they check it, I don't really know, but they probably have their own ways. So Nebraska taking on a coughing baby. Unfortunately for Nebraska, the coughing baby put up somewhat of a performance. 4 shutout innings in a row to start the game, and we even had the bases loaded. 0 outs. Committed Noble Tiger. South Dakota scored 1 home run off of a person that had like 5 home runs on the year beforehand. Not good. Not good. It didn't matter anyway because we still won, but not that's not that confident. But hey, you know what? Let's pick ourselves up. We did not play Louisville. All right, we're playing Grand Canyon. Now Grand Canyon has won a lot of games. They've now won 53 games. Yes, I know they lost like 8 games or so, but that's not too many more than we have lost. And 30-0 start, which is better than ours, I guess. They have a really great offense. They haven't been shut out all season, and they hit bombs with regularity. For reference, Nebraska just has not had the juice. Jordy is forever one short of 20, apparently. I don't fucking know. She's still trying to get her 2020, 20 wins, 20 bombs. But, so what would this result be? Grand Canyon is, powerful on the offense, and Nebraska is in a massive slump. Well, Nebraska continues to slump, not scoring in the first 4. Problem, GCU forgot to score runs for the first time all season. They get shut out, and Nebraska bullshits its way to a 2-0 win. Okay, I mean, sure, I guess this is entirely less convincing when you are, playing the likes, playing, Grand Canyon, comparing last year where we had to play the likes of Yukon and Southeastern Louisiana, which they got a higher seed this year, got bumbleclatted in 2 games. Or 3. I don't remember how much they played. I know that they just did not live up to expectations. And Yukon got whopped by a team that didn't even make the tournament. Super regionals. Woo! Yeah, not great. At least they both made it. At least one of them kicked out Creighton. Yeah. So not great, but there will be at bare minimum. And we get to the regional finals. Woohoo! With a 2-0 record. Exactly what we expected. But let's go over the other games. So down here we have Louisville versus South Dakota. Now, like I said, South Dakota is now sitting at 35 and 1. Louisville has some sort of competence. So this, obviously, and I really mean obviously, means that Louisville loses to South Dakota. Bruh. Yeah, that's not that does not give you that does not give you confidence for your program, Louisville. I don't know if you fire a coach or anything, but don't want this to be a consistent regularity, especially when the ACC kind of needs you to lock the fuck in. Duke almost didn't. But now we have a match of Grand Canyon versus Nebraska. Now, I think that does mean that every team has at least played each other once, except for us playing Louisville, which... but this time the expected result would come as Grand Canyon would beat South Dakota in one of the final innings. Yeah, South Dakota had a 4-2 lead. They almost made it to the regional finals, which wouldn't be the only 4 seed to make the regional finals. All right, South Carolina Upstate did it in the same group as Alabama, so maybe I don't know. But just okay, you know what? That's fine. I would have rather faced South Dakota, but I guess we're just gonna have a rematch against Grand Canyon University. Now, like I said before, they had never been shut out, and in the other 2 games, they have scored at bare minimum of 5. We have scored 6 total. The entirety of this. South Dakota has scored more runs at this point than we have. Louisville has half as many runs in the same amount of games, which doesn't really mean anything because they went 0-2 Lamau. Of course, Grand Canyon never been shut out. They've been shut out once, and they were shut out by one of the best pitchers in the nation. This obviously means that when we throw out Jensen for 5 innings, they still don't score, and then Jordy comes in to win. Now, this time, I forgot to mention in the second game, it took another 4 or 5 innings to score. This time, we actually scored in the first inning off a home run. I know, crazy. We still have hit less home runs than pretty much every team in this quadrant, but hey, you know what? We scored a home run. And then the offense took the rest of the day off. And that was it. Nebraska is your regional winners via scoring the third most amount of runs, but having a defense of gods. I don't know what to call it. This was it was not convincing in the slightest. Let me give you some statistical breakdowns. In the other 15 regional winners, I'm not saying hosts because obviously the hosts sometimes fell apart. I'm looking at you, Oregon. 13 of the 15 teams scored 8 or more runs in at least one game that they played. One of the 3 or 4 games that they played, they at least scored 8 runs in a game. The 14th one scored 7, and that was the Tennessee team that has Pickens as the pitcher, so that's like death. That's about as much death as Jordy gets. So the fifth team was the one in the Oregon regional, Mississippi State. They scored a max of 5, but 5, and that was multiple times, but 5 is more than we scored in any of our games. Just yikes. There are teams that went 0-2 that scored more than us. UCLA's first opponent scored 11. That's more of just an indictment on how badly they fell off. Should have scored more than 7, I guess, in that incident, I guess. Who knows? A lot of teams that didn't even make the regional final scored more than us. But did they give up more runs? Yeah. I think Alabama's defense was at least on par. But yeah, we only gave up 1 run, and it was a pretty lazy home run by our freshman pitcher. So I don't know. I said at the beginning, at the end of the year, like, this team's big crux is that they cannot offense, and they rely very heavily on the pitching to do the work. And that is very, very much holding true in these games where we had to rely on some spectacular defensive plays, while the offense was like getting out on fielder's choice about 6 times per game. A lot of lazy grounders, a lot of lazy pop-ups. They can't hit home runs, but they really love just popping the ball up to the infield or shallow outfield. And we scored 1 home run, and that was in the 1-0 that we desperately needed to score at least 1 run. Obviously, give credit to the defense, but the offense needs work, especially if we are going to be going up against this next team, a team that we are very, very familiar with. Oklahoma State. Now, to give you the regular season recap, we faced off against Oklahoma State in a very weird way. We played against them, and then we went to Tulsa, played 2 games, and then went back to Oklahoma State and played another game. And we went 1-1 against Oklahoma State. We won the other two because it was against Tulsa and South Dakota State. So, you know, not the highest of quality, but hey, you know what? Whatever. We went 1-1. There was supposed to be a third game. You know, supposed to play 5 games during the weekend. The problem was Oklahoma weather came in, and I mean that's just the risk that you take playing games in Nebraska and Oklahoma, whatever. I mean, shit, we are dealing with fucking tornadoes out here in Nebraska just after finishing this up. So, weather happens in this region. That's just how it works. As for what I think it's gonna go, how it's gonna go, it'll be very hard fought. Oklahoma State was putting up lots of runs. I think they might have outscored our entirety 3 game in 1 game nonsense. Pretty much every game they scored a crap ton. They have a really good offense for the Big 12. I feel like they were horrifically underseeded. This is just the thing that we have to deal with when we get seeded so goddamn short. But I don't know. That's next weekend's issue. I don't know what the times are. I don't know if I'm buying tickets to it, but shucks. Just we get to host our first super regional ever, so that's sick. That's really cool. Apparently, even if GCU won it, apparently they would have been hosting. I don't really understand the logic of that because they're a 3 seed and Oklahoma State's a 2 and a 1 seed in their own bracket. But who the hell knows what's going on? Or maybe I was just reading that wrong. But yeah, we get to host. We get to play in the Bowling Stadium once again, the Thunderdome. Yeah. I guess we will see you guys next week for more softball. I really hope it's not at the same time as the baseball team because they also play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe Saturday and Sunday. We'll see. All right. Stay tuned. See ya.